I haven't been inside my garden for 4 days, which is crazy. I knew I was going to be coming home to a garden that was in a lot of parts dead, but it's still glorious. Wow, I harvested this okra fully before I left. Look at that. We got back from our camping trip about 2 hours ago. Now normally I would be directly in the garden, but we have our live tonight, and we had to unload everything. I had a terrible headache coming home, and I had to figure out dinner. So I actually ended up getting pizza for the kids, and I'm just now walking down here and kind of assessing the garden quickly before we've got to go live. The heat came back today. It's been really relatively cool, but there is a coolness in the breeze. We had a wonderful time camping. I missed tomatoes because I did not eat any tomatoes the entire time we were gone. I brought a big bag of cherry tomatoes, but I gave them all to my dad. I don't know if it's the fact that it hasn't rained in days here, therefore the sugars in these tomatoes are like super concentrated, or if it's the fact that I'm not completely like tomatoed out, because I do eat a ton of tomatoes when I'm at home. But these taste so good, like the best I've ever had. Or something. That's a tomatillo.
Holy cow, it doesn't have any fruit on it.
I know. I don't really know why. I have 2 of them. You're supposed to have more than one to cross-pollinate.
I don't know.
There's actually 3 of them.
There's actually 3 Kajari melons ready. None of them have split.
We'll go pick them.
Oh, I thought I was waiting on you.
Go get them. Let's open them. Hold on, let me pick you one of these good ones. These taste so good.
The tomatillo?
No, that's a cherry tomato.
Mmm!
My sentiments exactly.
Not as sour as the other one.
Huh?
Not as sour as the other one.
Not sour like that other one. Y'all, Benjamin just got a bath as soon as we got home, and he's already got himself all filthy.
Mmm!
Farm boy. Benjamin, what was your favorite part of camping?
Going on the boat and swimming.
Going on the boat and swimming?
Yeah.
Look. Riding spider. I knew I had walked through a bit of web.
Kajari Melon.
Look at that little lady. Definitely don't want to put my hand in her web. Hey, no. Don't damage your web, okay?
Why?
She's a friend. Okay, she eats the bad bugs, but she will bite you. And it won't kill you, but it will hurt. So just leave her alone, okay?
Why?
Because she's catching the bad bugs for us. Just remember that she's there, and don't put your hand in her web. Dang. Score.
4.
Our first Kajari melons of the year. Shall we try them?
That's the garden knife.
We're just going to do it right here on the table.
Oh my goodness. That's
Oh my goodness. What are you over there eating?
I really want to. I want to go that because it's really sour. I love sour.
Is Daddy picking you cucamelons?
Yeah. And my size cucumbers. That's mine.
Okay, first Kajari melon of the year. Let's see. We'll if it'll live up to its reputation.
I haven't tasted these things.
This is why they sold out at Baker Creek.
So, my story with the Kajari melon. Now, I'm sure this melon has a much longer story, much of which we may never know. But whenever we grow heirlooms, we get to tell our story with that variety, and in that we get to add to that variety story. Baker Creek introduced these seeds a few years ago, and this was before I had a YouTube channel, and before I had really done much large-scale gardening. I was still very much learning, much as I am now, but even more so then. And my friend Lisa and I were going in together on a seed order, and what we would do is we would just pick out everything that we wanted, and then we would just split the cost and then split the seed packets in half, because you don't usually need a whole seed packet. And this was a brand new variety that was being introduced at that point. And so being brand new and very rare, I think you got like 10 seeds, and it was one of the more expensive packages that we bought, but I really wanted it. I don't know, something about it. I just thought I really want to grow that. So we got it in, and I had 5 seeds. That was my half of the pack, and I planted them a little on the late end. I was doing a lot of traveling. It was back when I used to travel a lot for ministry, and I came home once from being away for a weekend, and the plant was just completely gone. All of them, all the plants that I had from those 5 seeds were wilted and a mess, and I was so bummed. A while later, it's probably getting close to this time, the end of the summer, whenever it's just massively hot, and you know, that's when my garden is really starting to peter out. I was tearing out all the dead plants, and basically I found one lone melon that had snaked its way underneath some big okra plants that were just so bushy that I didn't see them, and I thought they'd all died. But I got one melon, and as you can see here, one melon holds a lot of seeds. This is the seeds of one melon, and that year the melon, by the time I found it, was way too ripe to really be very good, but I saved all the seeds. And in one very ripe melon you get, I mean, it was probably about 600 seeds in that melon, which was such a lesson, multiplication and sowing a seed and reaping a harvest and all of that. So then I went from 5 Kajari melon seeds to like 600 Kajari melon seeds. And so that winter I sent them out in all kinds of swaps because it was so beautiful. And even though I didn't really get to enjoy it in its prime, it was so fragrant, and what I did eat of it, it was really tasty. The texture had gotten rough at that point because it was so overripe, but so fragrant and gorgeous fruit. So that year I sent out hundreds of Kajari melon seeds to people all over the place. And then the next year I grew it again in my garden. I grew it on an arch trellis, which that was last year. And so many of you at that point saw this beautiful melon that ripens to orange hanging on the trellis. It's actually that picture of that trellis in all its glory with the Kajari melons on it was the thumbnail of a video where I showed how to make the cattle panel trellises, which is one of the most popular videos we have on our channel. The Kajari melon became pretty well known through our YouTube videos, and it became one of Baker Creek's better selling seeds, and just exploded. But what was really cool is that last year at the expo, I went out to Baker Creek's expo to speak, and I was checking in the hotel, and there was a very interesting man checking in next to me, and I looked at him and I was like, I feel like I should know you. You seem very familiar. But it turns out I had read about him in Baker Creek's catalog. His name is Joseph Simcox, and he's actually the one who originally discovered the Kajari melon seeds. It's thought to have originated in Punjab, and just very fascinating. He actually sought it out for several years. He had heard about it and sought it out and finally found it and found its story. And that's how they ended up with Baker Creek, which is how they ended up in my garden, which is how they ended up on a trellis, which is how they ended up in so many of the gardens of all of you. And so now this is really a special fruit to me because it does speak such a message to me about how, you know, this was grown by nameless, faceless people that I will never know, on the other side of the world for how many years, I don't know. And it was stewarded, and it was taken care of, and it was treasured by those people. And they thought that it was important enough to keep growing and to share and to keep this alive. And then Joseph Simcox thought that it was important enough to seek out and to gather and collect. Jared Gettle of Baker Creek thought that it was important enough to purchase those seeds and to continue to tell their stories and to distribute them. And I thought it was important enough to try, and whenever I failed, to keep trying. And then you guys, you saw that importance, and you thought it was important enough to put in your garden. This melon has become such a testament to me of what can happen when people, individuals, recognize value in something. And it speaks a great message to me about the kingdom of God. That's what it's come to mean to me. But the Kajari melon is special to me and what it symbolizes. And this year, whenever it sold out at Baker Creek and people began to message me, oh, the Kajari melon sold out, and I don't know if they've got it back in stock at this point, but it was a pretty cool thing to think about what can happen when a handful of individuals call something valuable. And it's also just a really, really delicious melon.
Mommy, I want another.
You want another one? Here. You can have the rest of that one. Hey, we got to share these with your brothers.
Also us?
Yeah, and with you too.
And with you.
But for now, you can have one more little piece. How are you already so dirty after you just took a bath? Don't know. Hey, girls. Hi. Hey, little lovelies. Do I need to give you something to eat for you to be happy to see me? Oh, man. I'm gonna step through here. Look at that melon. It's literally like growing in these so tight. It's stuck. Here's a ripe one. Now this is the Haogan. It's Israel melon, I think is what it's called. And these actually came from seeds from my friend Amanda's garden in California. This is my first ripe one to get of these. Now this little guy's got himself into a pickle. And I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I'm curious, so I'm just going to let it go. Alright, I picked the girls an overripe cucumber. Well, that's an exciting thing. I shared it on a live. I don't think I ever put it in a video, but we decided to call our little red hens the Lucy's. You guys gave us a lot of really great suggestions, and that was a hard choice, but since I still have one of my original Ethels, I had a group of hens that were called the Ethels, I felt like it was only a sweet nod to them. Only one of the original Ethels remains, and so I still have Ethel, and now we've got all the Lucy's. Of course, now we have some other of the black hens. Actually, that's Ethel right there, that crusted cream leg bar that has a little poof on top of her head. Now we have the black hens and then the barred ones as well. We'll have to come up with names for. I might use some of the other great suggestions for them. And then all the Lucy's. Typically in planting a fall garden, what I'll do is go through and, you know, some things I'll fill in spaces, and I'll just tear out what I must to make room for some fall things to go in. And then a lot of things I'm continuing to let them kind of run their course. But I have half a mind to just tear it all out and just like do a blank slate in the middle of the summer. I probably won't do that, but it's nice to threaten it a bit. I guess I could though. I mean, like, why not? Why not just completely go nuts? My concern would be that things wouldn't mature in time, and then I would end up with nothing, but that's a silly concern, really. Stuff will grow. So the Israel melon kind of got a little green flesh and a little bit of orangey in the middle. I'm always kind of like unsure when I've grown something for the first time. Like, I don't want to judge it wrongly if I've like, you know, somehow gotten the wrong thing, or if it's not the right amount of ripeness. This one had fallen off, so it's ripe. Kind of unfair to eat any other little melon after Kajari melons because they're so sweet. This is good. It's not as sweet, but it's super juicy. Kind of mild in flavor. I really like the texture. It's not at all gritty. This is really smooth, and it's good all the way down to the rind. I've grown banana melons. That was one that I really liked the flavor of, but you just got so little flesh. This is like a really meaty melon. Definitely good. Definitely worth growing. It's not taking my spot for like most favorite by any means, but I'll also wait till I've had a few more of them. I'll never judge a fruit by my first one. But it's definitely good.